Welcome back to the Garza Gaming Channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the new changes coming in 8.11 November 16th. And one of those changes is going to be life changing from one of my favorite gods in Arena. So hey man, without any further ado, let's get into it. So here we go with update 8.11. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is these skins, right? So this is going to bring the Transformers Battle Pass into effect. And as corny as it sounds, these skins actually look pretty cool, man. The various different abilities, that the skins on these abilities looks really awesome. I got to see this in their in the high res reveal of this 8.11, and it actually looked pretty cool, man. So if you missed that, you might want to check that out. So yeah, we're gonna get Optimus Prime, we're gonna get Starscream, we're gonna get Megatron, and then we're gonna get like the cartoonish type version of these skins, right? Obviously we're gonna get Geb for Optimus Prime, we're going to get Jinwei for Starscream, and then Megatron is actually going to be Raw. So yeah, I'll definitely end up buying this Battle Pass just to get these skins, and maybe in the future when I do a video on these set gods, I will use these Transformers skins, right? Just add a little bit extra. But let's get into this, right? So the very first change is going to be items, and then we're going to go into gods. So Death Toll. For Death Toll, they're actually increasing the physical power from 15 to 20 and decreasing the magical power, and increasing the magical power, I should say, from 30 to 35. So that's pretty cool because we actually use Death Toll in a couple of our hunter builds actually. Glided Arrow, they're increasing the basic attack damage from 20 to 25, so that's also awesome. Benevolence, if you are at 50 stacks and gain another stack for any reason and you are near an ally, that stack will actually be automatically consumed to gold, but you remain at 50 stacks. So that's pretty cool. So that means any stack over 50, you're just going to get gold for that, which is pretty cool. But they decrease the health from 100 to 75 on that. Okay, Vampiric Shroud. So they increase the power scaling, the power on this from 25 to 30. So that's pretty cool. Sigil of the Old Guard now has a 5% damage mitigation as a set, and it applies always. So it is going to have a set 5% mitigation, right? As a actual stat, I should say. And then they're going to increase the duration of the passive buff of this, which provides stacking damage mitigation from 5 seconds to 8 seconds. So I've never really used that, so I don't know. It is what it is. Infused Sigil. Decrease the stack required to trigger the explosion from 4 to 3. So they made it easier to, I guess, to have this thing go off. And they also increase the passive base explosion damage from 500 to 600, 100 more points of damage. Ooh, that's pretty good. Now I don't know if this scales off the amount of penetration that you have built. I've never used this item before, so hey man, if it does scale, hey, let me know in the comments down below. I'd definitely would like to know that, because 500, 600 points, man, that's a pretty good chunk of chain. So Warrior's Axe, so they increase the cost of Warrior's Axe from 600 to 650, which is not that big of a change really, but they remove the 75 health from it. So they remove the actual health you got from this item, which really sucks, and decrease the physical protections from 15 to 10. So they pretty much took the tankiness and survivability that you got with this item originally away from this, but they try to make it more into a DPS or a damage type item by adding 15 physical power and 20 magical power to it. So I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about that. I really like this more as a survivability type item, but you know, it is what it is. I don't use it in too many of my builds, but you might, you know what I'm saying? I think it kind of sucks that they took away that survivability on that item. So Sundering Axe, they added physical power from 0 to 40. So they added 40 to this, and they added 65 magical power to this, but they removed the 250 health you had from this. So even when you build this into Sundering Axe, you're gonna get, you know, 40 physical power and 65 magical power, but you're gonna lose that 250 health, which is really big in Arena. But it is what it is, dude. So Heroes X, they increased the physical protections from 35 to 45 and increased the magical protections from 35 to 45. So they added 10 physical and magical protections to Heroes X. Okay, Lotus Crown. They increased the cost of Lotus Crown from 2050 to 2150. So they added 100. It's going to cost you 100 more gold to get Lotus Crown, which is not too big of a deal. Okay, Mystical Mail, an item that we use on a lot of builds. They increased the cost from 2350 to 2450. So it's going to cost you 100 gold more, and decrease the physical protection from 40 to 35, which really sucks because it is what it is. 5 protection, is it going to make that big of a deal? I don't think so, but just any type of nerf to physical mill, I don't like, because I actually use this in a bunch of my builds. So it is what it is. Okay, so Book of the Dead. Increased the power from 100 to 120 and added 20% cooldown reduction, or CC reduction, I should say. So that is huge, man, for Arena. They actually added 20% protection against CC, which is really awesome. I love that they're starting to add counter CC type things to items, or counter CC type abilities to items. And hopefully this is the beginning of more to see in the future. And then increase the mana shield of the passive from 20% of your max mana to 30% of your max mana. So that's going to be pretty awesome, man. That's definitely going to give a lot more survivability to your mages, right? Okay, Staff of Meridian. They decreased the cost from 2,800 to 2650 gold, which is pretty cool. That allowed you to build this a lot faster, and increase the magical power from 85 to 95, which is definitely a very big welcome addition to this item right here. I always thought that it was a little underpowered at 85. I would love to see 120, but beggars can't be choosers, right? Okay, Fail Not. Now for Fail Not, what they actually ended up doing is reverting the crit on this item, right? So it used to have 20% crit on it, but then they nerfed it down to 10% crit, and I guess everybody stopped using it, so now it looks like they're giving that 20% crit back to Fail Not, which is going to be really, really awesome for the item, and actually probably allow people to start using it again. But it is what it is, right? The Executioner. Increased physical power from 35 to 40. Dude, that is huge, man. The Executioner is an awesome item. So any more attack power that you can get to that is just welcome, right? Bastet. They actually did a total revamp to Bastet, right? So now the Night Stalker ability, with her Night Stalker ability, Bastet gains physical lifesteal and physical ability lifesteal when hitting enemies. Additionally, enemy gods hit by her are revealed, right, for 6 seconds. So this is huge. Now, take in mind what they're saying. They're saying that not only is she going to get physical lifesteal from her basic attacks, but she's also going to get physical lifesteal from her ability damage, which is huge. It is huge. Against minions, it's going to be 5% plus 0.5 per level, up to a cap of 15%, right? Against gods is going to also start at 5% plus 1% per level, capping out at 25% lifesteal in game. Man, that's going to be very powerful for Bastet. Now her Razor Whip, they decreased the cooldown from 13 seconds to 11 seconds, which is pretty big. And they adjusted the duration per tick to the pace of the ability. So it still does the same damage, it's just going to tick just a smidgen faster, right? But the damage that ticks will now occur, this tells you the thing, like I say, it's going to happen just a little bit faster. You won't be able to tell you the truth. But the same damage is being done per tick at the total thing of it. So, it is what it is. Okay, Huntress of Bastet. Or Bast, I should say. So Bastet becomes CC immune and conjures a radiant projectile that travels forward in a line, damaging and stunning the first enemy god that it hits. A Guardian of Bast is summoned at the location that picks up and grabs that enemy hit and brings it back to them to the initial firing location. So I actually got to see this in action, and it's crazy. It's a straight line attack, right? So, and then the first guy you hit, you have an actual panther that picks up the god and actually hops it back to you and into your area. Now, on a successful capture, a pool of quicksand is created under the enemy, creating a vortex which drags the target towards the center and deals damage. So, what ends up happening is you do this all, and next thing you know, your panther grabs an enemy, brings it to you, and as soon as he or she drops it, it drops it pretty much into a Poseidon pool, right? That does damage and gives that CC. So it's pretty interesting. It's definitely interesting. I'm definitely going to want to check this out once it goes live in Arena. I think that's going to really make Bastet very deadly, especially for those backline type gods like a Zeus or maybe even on a Baron, that doesn't have those quick escapes like you would have from some of those other gods. So this should be very interesting. On a successful capture, it does damage. So it does initial hit of 180, 240, 300, 360, and 420 plus 100% of your physical power. Man, that is going to do some serious damage. And the quicksand damage does 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40 plus 15% of your physical power every point, half of a second up to 3 seconds. So it's going to be 6 ticks. So that should be very interesting. The cooldown of it is 80 seconds, which really is not that much when you take into account that's before any type of cooldown reduction. So yeah, and then your mana cost, who cares, right? Okay, so Kleena. So Kleena, what they ended up doing is they actually increased the amount of damage that you get from sitting into the wall by making the ticks faster, right? So increase tick rate from 0.5 seconds to 0.4 seconds. So you're going to be taking damage a little faster when you go into the walls. And this is to give people that incentive to get their butts out of the wall and not just camp inside of the wall waiting for that perfect time to gank somebody, right? So it's pretty cool. Now, tearing the veil. So her ult now, they decrease the initial hit scaling from 90% to 80%. So her initial hit scaling is going to take a 10% hit. So yeah, that's going to be pretty significant. And then they also decrease the rift damage scaling from 35% to 30% per tick. So you're losing 5% per tick damage. Once you get the initial damage, you're losing 10% on the initial damage, and then per tick damage, you're going to lose 5% on damage per tick. So yeah, small. Now, I don't think it's that big of a nerf really, because as Kleena is still pretty OP. So I wouldn't be surprised if they nerf her a little bit more down the line. So Niza. So for her, they actually changed her universal ring toss, right? So now this ability now deals increased damage to only the first enemy that it hit. By the initial ring toss projectile. So the initial guy that it hits is going to get that big blunt hit, right? So the increased initial hit damage from 75, 100, 125, 150, and 175 plus 20% of your physical power to 80, 110, 140, 170, and 200. So an extra 25 damage late game at 200. Plus, they doubled the scaling of your physical power. So you plus 40% of your physical power. So that's going to be pretty huge. You're not going to be able to hit multiple targets for that big initial number. But the first guy that you do hit is going to get a good hit. Is going to get a good chunk taken out of their health pool, right? Now, the other damage in this ability remains unchanged. So initial targets that are hit due to the rings bouncing and stuff like that, they're going to remain the same. Everything remains the same. It's just that initial big hit, right? Now it's only going to be felt by the first enemy god that it's hit. Okay, so Thor. So Thor's Berserker Barrage, they increased the physical power scaling of the first 2 hits from 35% to 40% a hit. So that's going to be a welcome buff for you Thor players, I'm sure. Okay, so here comes it. Boy. This is what I was waiting for here. This is one of the most awesome freaking buffs they could have done for Zeus. As y'all know, I love playing Zeus, man. Ever since season 2, I believe he had this buff up to season 2. And season 2, they actually took it away from him. So it took almost 6 years for them to give him back. And as we all know, man, when you play Zeus, one of the biggest complaints we have from him is 1, he has no escape. But 2, he feels like he moves so freaking slow, right? So here we go, man. Aegis Assault. While Zeus is now weighed down by his shield, he now gains 20, 22.5, 25, 27.5, and 30% movement speed, and increase 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40 attack speed. So when he throws his shield down, you're going to get an instant movement buff as long as the shield is down. And as soon as it comes back to you, the buff is going to go away, which is going to be huge. I'm talking huge in Arena. Now you'll be able to not only throw that shield and be light on your feet, but when you're doing your combo, especially when you're hitting those basics, you're going to get up to a 40% attack speed buff to get more of those basics in there before you come down with that hammer, right? So that is freaking amazing, man. I'm really looking forward to testing this out in Arena, man. That definitely made me very happy to see that they're finally buffing the man himself, right? So here we go. So his brother Poseidon, right? So they decreased the tide cost from 20 to 15, which is pretty cool. And for his trident, they decreased the cooldown from 20, 18, 16, 14, and 12 seconds to 16, 15, 14, 13, and 12. So early game, you're going to get that trident cooldown a lot quicker. So that's really nice. And they increased the magical power scaling per hit from 20% to 25%. So they gave him a little bit more power with that trident. So that's pretty cool. Whirlpool, they decreased the tide cost from 20 to 15. So that's really nice too. And then they released the Kraken, or his ult. They also decreased the tide cost from 30 to 20. Okay, moving on. Another kind of vamp, and here goes for AMC, right? So for AMC, as we know, his ult to me always felt, a little lacking. It did a little bit of damage, but that's all it did. It did damage. So they finally revamped his ult to make more sense, right? And make it more I would say in line with other people's ults. So now his Stinger, or his ult, this ability now slows impaired targets for 20, 22.5, 25, 27.5, and 30% slow at late game, which is freaking cool, man. Freaking amazing. And this ability now decreases the physical protections by 30% on the impaled target. So in reading this, it doesn't really say the duration of the slow, but the fact that you're actually going to get a movement in hindering, you're crippling a target for up to 30% late game is going to be awesome. But not only are you slowing them, but you're also stripping them of their 30% of their protections. That's going to be huge, man. That's definitely going to be huge because, as you know, man, AMC is like a freaking Gatling gun late game. He pulls some really high numbers. So being able to not only slow a target where it can't get away from you, but to strip them of 30% of their protections before you open up on them is going to be huge for this guy. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to checking that out. LeBlanc, this guy, he's actually getting increased base damage power from 37 to 40, which is, he's already OP, I think, as it is. So giving that extra power is just going to make him that more of a beast in Arena, right? So, and then the increased base attack speed per level from 1 to 1.5. So they're going to give him an even faster attack speed, which is going to be amazing for that character. And then Branching Bola increased damage from 35% to 37.5. So Zablanka is definitely getting some crazy buffs. And to tell you the truth, I don't know why they're buffing him. I thought he was fine as is. I didn't think he needed to be any more of a beast than he is. But, it is what it is. So those Zablanka people are going to be really looking at that. So now Xingtane, or how you ever say his name, right? Xingtan. They're actually, his Furious Sword is getting increased damage over time from 1.52, 2.53, and 3% to 1.52, 2.53, and 3.5%. So it's going to get, his dot is going to get like half of a percent at late game, pretty much. So that's not going to be that much of a change for him, to tell you the truth. Now, his Hook Slam, they decreased the cooldown from 18 seconds to 16 seconds. That is enormous, dude. That is enormous. That pretty much brought him in line to where Cerberus was before he finally got his buff on his cooldown down to 14 seconds. So this guy's going down from 18 seconds to 16 seconds cooldown on his hook slam. That does not sound like much, but I'm telling you, man, anybody that's played this character, you know that's going to be a lifetime. Because keep in mind, this is before any type of cooldown reduction, so that's going to be really huge for this character. Now, they decreased the mana cost of it too, which we really don't care about. And his Sky Cutting Axe, they decreased the mana cost, we don't care about. Ganyu, his Assault, they decreased the cooldown from 15 seconds to 13 seconds, which is going to be gigantic from this god. Dude, this god is pretty OP as it is in Arena, and to be able to get that Assault just 2 seconds faster is going to be very, very big for that character. Okay, Freya, Valkyrie's the Incision. So her ult, Freya will now be untargetable when rising into the air on this. So what does this mean? To the naked eye, they'd be like, yeah, so what? Well, you know, what is that going to do for me? Dude, this now pretty much made her have an escape. So now, as soon as you hit your ult, you're now untargetable. So it's almost like using Charybdis's 3, but instead of going forward, you're going to go up into the air and be able to do your ult. And as you know, in her ult, you can actually move, so you can actually be backing away, attacking and figuring out your next move, so you don't get, you know, ganked as you're going up into that ult. So that's going to be very big for Freya in Arena, I think. And then Camazotz. The Camazotz will now be untargetable when rising into the air for his. So now when he does his ult, he's going to be untargetable. So they gave to me, they gave Freya and Camazotz kind of an escape by using their ult, which is going to be huge, man. This is definitely going to be huge. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the main 8.11 buffs and nerfs, right? So in addition to the 8.11 updates that had been up for a while on their website, they actually made some post PTS server updates as well. And what they did with that is they actually updated the description on Bastet's new ult, which is not that big of a deal. But what is a big of a deal is for Stone of Fall, they actually decreased the magical power from 35 to 20, which really sucks. And they decreased the mitigations from the passive from 3% to 2% per stack, which at max is decreasing it from 18% to 12% mitigation at max. Which, man, this really sucks too, because I just started using Stone of Fall in a couple of my builds, and of course, as soon as I start using it, that's when I started getting a hit with this, man. Because I tell you what, this is actually a pretty cool item to have on any melee types. Infused Sigil, they increased the number of stacks to trigger from 3 to 4. Yep, so that's going to be the big changes for 8.11. So what do you think about the Transformers Battle Pass? Are you anticipating it, or do you think it's kind of corny, man? I myself, at first, I was going to be a little bit of corny, but after seeing the actual skins in actual gameplay, I think it's going to be pretty cool, man. I'm kind of looking forward to it. But the big thing I'm really looking forward to, of course, is that Zeus buff, man. I think giving him a mobility speed and attack speed is just going to be crazy for Zeus. Actually, I would not be surprised within the first 2 weeks of actually implementing that buff that they knock it down to maybe 15% movement speed and less attack speed. But man, who knows, you know? Either way, I'm really looking forward to it. Again, remember, this goes live November 16th, right? So 2 Tuesdays from now. Hey, and if y'all are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. And don't forget, we are now live on Twitch and Facebook Gaming under Garza Gaming Channel. And if you're new to our channel, don't forget we have over 400 videos just like this one, our YouTube video library. I put a link to that and a link to our streaming library description of any of our videos and our new website, garzagaming.com. And if you're tired of playing with all these random people out there, man, come join us in our Discord. We have awesome people from all around the world playing a variety of games daily in our Discord. I put an invite to that description of any of our videos and our website, garzagaming.com. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'm Dark Garza, your OG on the GC. See you next time.